Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward, and this is Face to Face. Our guest this week is the chief of Neskantaga First Nation in Northern Ontario. Christopher Moonias had not yet been sworn in when he recently made headlines for a heated exchange in the Ontario legislature that led to his removal from Queen's Park. It was over the so-called Ring of Fire, a mineral-rich area in Ontario's north that has long been compared to Alberta's oil sands. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has promised to get the long-stalled development moving, even if he has to hop on a bulldozer himself. Moonias and others are saying not so fast. This is not his first term as chief of the nation, one that has suffered under the longest boil water advisory in Canadian history. Chief Moonias, thanks so much for being with us this week, and congrats on your recent election.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
You were still a few days away from officially taking over as chief when you made some headlines over the incident that went down at Queen's Park, the Ontario legislature. Can you tell us a little bit what happened there?
Well, I was invited by Chief Wayne Moonias. I've worked alongside with him for a number of years, even before I became chief the first term, and after my term as chief, I've worked as one of his closest advisor, his senior advisor. So he invited me to take part in some of the meetings that he goes to, and we work very close, and we continue to work very close, and some of the issues that we continue to face in our nation, in our community, so when we went to Toronto for a meeting with a couple of other nations, three other nations that to talk about land, we happened to be invited to Queen's Park to listen on the question period, and I heard our MPP, Sol Mamakwa, Kiwajang MPP, to ask some questions, and the answers that were given there by the Ontario government were not consistent with what we want to hear, or what our position is. So obviously I got upset, and I wanted to make sure that the Premier heard our position.
You were part of that news conference at the legislature earlier in the day. Can you tell us a bit about what it was about?
Well, the news conference itself was about the First Nations, number of First Nations coming together to defend their rights, speak for their rights, and also defend the land, and as stewards of the land. Those are some of the things that we were talking about. That we're having a more unified position on some of the common principles or goals we have in protecting the land and the environment, to make sure that it doesn't get destroyed.
Part of this, of course, is about the Ring of Fire, and as a former longtime reporter in Thunder Bay, I've been hearing about and reporting on the Ring of Fire for about 16 years or more now. Recent estimates value the mineral deposits at about $90 billion, although I think the Ontario Mines Minister said $1 trillion recently before they walked that back a bit. But for those who aren't familiar with the project or the area, can you give us your take on what exactly the Ring of Fire is and where it's located in comparison to your nation?
Well, the so-called Ring of Fire is located on our homelands. We live on that river. We're the only First Nation community other than Ottawapiskat that lives on the river. So and that's why our position is so strong that that we are part of that land, and when we have a right and we have a say to what goes on in our homelands, and that's what's not being recognized right now, or being ignored. Whether that's just a political game that they're playing, I don't know, but we never gave up or ceded our rights to that area.
You'd kind of mentioned this when we were talking before, that the location of Neskantaga First Nation to the Ring of Fire seems to be being called into question by Ring of Fire Metals, the company looking to develop the area. Can you tell us about the letter the company has sent?
Well, what they're saying is that they, based on the consultation with other communities or other nations, that they're saying that we're not part of that. We don't have any rights to it. That's not our traditional territory. But we say otherwise. We're not going to let anybody else, any government or any First Nation or other or proponents or any other entity say otherwise. I mean, we have been there for a long time, since time immemorial, and we have rights to that land.
Can you give us an overview of some of Neskantaga's concerns with what's being proposed?
Well, a lot of the things that's being concerned right, the protection of the land, the protection of the river, especially we have a very healthy sturgeon population that we want to ensure to keep. A lot of communities, a lot of First Nations surrounding First Nations ask us to provide sturgeon for their community events, and we try to maintain or conserve that population. And with the road or things developing happening there, we want to make sure that the species is protected, even though they're in endangered species list. And so the members have long since learned how to conserve the population without overfishing and
I guess you're concerned about the impact that it might have on the river then?
Yeah, we have a concern on the impact. We have the concern on the impact on the way of life. We've lived on that land. We've hunt, fish, gathered on that land, and we will continue to do so. And that's worth protecting.
Now, Ontario Premier Doug Ford famously said in 2018 that the road was going to get built even if he had to hop on a bulldozer himself. You're calling for a one-on-one meeting with the Premier. What would you like to tell him?
Well, it's not going to be easy just to hop on a bulldozer and bulldoze our territory. I mean, we have a lot of discussions. We have a lot of things to talk about. We have a long way to go before anything like this happens. We have our rights. We have our inherent rights. We have our laws. We have our community protocols that needs to be respected.
Just a few weeks back at the annual Prospectors and Developers Association conference, where the road announcement was made at the time, that the company would have to, your former chief, Wayne Moonias, said that the company would have to, quote, kill us before you cross our river system. Is there, the real potential for conflict here?
Well, if we don't know what's going to happen. But if they're going to bulldoze without our consent, then we will act accordingly. I mean, we will have to stand in front of the bulldozer, I guess.
Chief Moonias, much more to talk about here. We just have to step aside, though, for a quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here on Face to Face with Neskantaga Chief Christopher Moonias. Stick around.
I would ask our guests who are in the gallery to refrain.
No free and prior informed consent. That board, you come and meet me.
Not accessing our traditional homeland. You're not crossing the river system. You're not going to cross the river system.
You're not crossing out of the river.
Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Neskantaga First Nation Chief Christopher Moonias, and we've been talking about the Ring of Fire, a massive mineral deposit in northern Ontario that at times has been compared to a development as big as the Alberta oil sands. Chief, you know, it's been almost 20 years that people have been talking about the Ring of Fire, including the road and whether it was going to be a north-south road or an east-west road. More than a decade already since Cliffs Natural Resources said it was putting billions of dollars into the project, you know, including the processing facility that places like Thunder Bay and Fort William First Nation were fighting for. Well, what's your take on why this project hasn't moved forward yet?
Well, I think for me anyway that my community hasn't given its consent because of the fact that we haven't been consulted. There hasn't been any accommodation. We haven't given out free prior informed consent. You know, that needs to happen before anything moves forward.
Of course, the project is not universally opposed by First Nations. Webequie and Martin Falls First Nations are both seem to be in favor of the project. I guess, can you appreciate why some would want this to move forward?
Well, for them, I mean, I'm not gonna say that, you know, it's wrong, or I mean, they have their own community, their First Nation processes that they follow, and we have ours. And looking at other projects that are around, I mean, I don't see Ottawa prospering from the victor's mine. They, I mean, they're still under boil water advisory. There's still lack of houses. I've seen other communities, other nations around Musselwhite that hasn't fully prospered from those. You know, we want to make sure that you know, if we're ever going to decide to say that we're going to allow development, we want to make sure that we meaningfully participate and we benefit.
Important points there. Chief, what happens next? Do you think this project will ever get off the ground?
Not when we have something to say about it.
Let's move to another critical issue that's been going on longer than the Ring of Fire. Neskantaga First Nation's been under a boil water advisory now for more than 10,300 days. That's more than 28 years. How is this possible?
Today is actually 10,310 days of boil water advisory, consecutive days, and I mean it's just sad situation. And you know, when I met with former chiefs of the from Neskantaga, I continue to work closely with them, and we look at what happened, and that's what we're looking at is, you know, what happened? Why is it why do we still have a boil water advisory, even though right now the water plant is being worked on, and it's something that we're not a big fan of the upgrade. We would much prefer a brand new water plant and a brand new distribution system. That's what we would prefer. But you know, due to INAC's policy, I mean its policies, you know, they wanna go that route to make sure that you know, to upgrade the system, which will not, I believe, will not last. And based on our update meetings this past week, we'll for sure hit 30 years boil water advisory.
Sad to think about. Why do you think that you'll make it at least another 2 years here without any improvements?
Well, there's been a lot of deficiencies that were identified, and those things needs to be addressed. You know, I don't even remember. I mean, I've lived in the First Nation all my life, and I don't even remember the time when it was built back in 1993. If we were ever at a boil water advisory.
You know, Chief,
because I mean, we've always said the design is flawed, or wasn't up to a standard what we were expecting.
Right. Well, what's INAC telling you, or Indigenous Services Canada, why they wouldn't just do a new whole plant?
Well, they just don't want to scrap the idea and start a new one. That's basically it. Mm-hmm. I mean, which is ridiculous.
Chief, more to talk about on this long-standing boil water advisory, the longest in Canadian history. Well, we're just going to step aside for one more quick break, and then we'll continue the conversation here with Neskantaga First Nation Chief Christopher Moonias. Stick around.
We want to be recognized as human beings, that we need clean water too at our homes. I don't know why it's so hard for the government not to recognize that. It's very heartbreaking, like, to see everybody going through this from my community. Some people don't want to talk about it because they give up hope. Some people say there's no hope. It's like we're being punished. What are we being punished for? I don't know. Maybe the government should tell us why they don't support us. Why aren't we recognized as Canadian citizens?
Welcome back to Face to Face. Our guest this week is Neskantaga First Nation Chief Christopher Moonias. We're talking about the water treatment plant, the 28 years of boil water advisory for Neskantaga. Chief, the federal government has stated it's spent more than $25 million on the water treatment plant. There's been numerous delays that have come and gone. Can you give us a sense of where things are at for the community today?
The 14-day run test that we haven't been able to complete. There was a certain specification that the amount of liters that's supposed to flow per second. So, we haven't reached that yet. It hasn't been reached. So, and there's some other issues that are causing delays in doing the test. So, those are things that we're trying to get addressed. So, hopefully that, the water will flow. But based on the report we get is that, things are not looking good.
You say you'd like to see a restart, a whole new plant. I guess without that happening, are you hopeful that this plant can be, make it so that you don't have a boil water advisory anymore?
Well, the community, that's what the community wants is, have all they want is clean drinking water. That's all they want. And how we get there is something that we need to have a discussion on. We need to do and how long we get it. So that's the ultimate thing is how long can we have the clean drinking water if we get water if we had a boil water advisory.
Chief, you had to evacuate the community a few years back because of this. Are any concerns that might have to happen again?
Well, there's always concerns. The membership, the community people have been living with this trauma for years, and that's something that we need to address. Also, is the mental health aspects of it to ensure that there are supports in place to trust the taps, and there's programs that needs to be in place to ensure that the membership talks about those things and deals with the trauma associated with the long-standing boil water advisory.
Yeah, Chief, you mentioned, the mental health. And an entire generation has grown up without being able to drink the water from the tap. What has been the impact of that?
Well, there's been significant, trauma associated with it. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll give an example from my daughter. For instance, she just turned 26 yesterday, and she lives in Thunder Bay. She works here, and she can't bring herself to drink water from the tap. She has to have bottled water, and that's what she grew up knowing is that the water from the tap is not good, no matter where you go. So that's the trauma associated with having a long-standing boil water advisor.
Well, happy birthday to your daughter from us here. Chief, we've been talking about some of the real challenges and concerns that Neskantaga First Nation has to face. What is it about the nation for you that makes you so passionate about it?
Well, although we put our the issues out there, we make it public, but it's not about. Being up there, living in the community is not about doom and gloom. There's a lot of positive stuff that we look to. The relationship with the land, the connection with the land. Things like that. The activities we do. Hunting, fishing. That's worth living up there, and that's worth fighting for.
Chief, that sounds like a great place to leave it for this week. We certainly appreciate you taking some time for us and wish you all the best as you're just starting off a new 2-year term.
All right, okay, thank you.
And that is all the time we have for this week's episode. Thanks again to Chief Moonias. If you'd like to watch this episode or any of our past episodes, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. And if you'd like to listen to this show or any of our past episodes, they're also available as podcasts. You can find those wherever you download your podcasts. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you back here next Tuesday on Face to Face.
My name is Dorothy Sakani. I'm from Neskantaga First Nation. It's very hard. Some of my family members lost their loved ones through lack of having clean drinking water in our community, and we suffer all those years like individual for our health, our needs of water, clean drinking water.